So this is my rendition of time management. I'm using a set of slides that I'm borrowing from someone else because it just seemed like they were good. And it's not an easy subject to really describe, to do justice to. So let's see if we can do it. So the objectives are to define time management, identify the benefits of time management, discuss the causes of failure to manage time, identify the factors affecting effective time management, and list the tips of effective time management. So those are just the broad objectives. And so just a few quotes. You can't do a time management presentation without some cute little quotes. So time is life. To waste your time is to waste your life, but to master your time is to master your life and make the most of it. This is due to Alan Lakin. And then the bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot. So I've heard that one before, so that's a little more relevant. So, okay, so let's see if we can get to the introduction. Time is increasingly at a premium. The Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. So 80% of our efforts are currently producing 20% of our results. That's the 80-20 rule. So can we take that 80% that are producing 20% of our results and become more effective? So the goal setting. So goal setting goes along with time management. So the principles, clarity, meaning you should be able to measure whether you're attaining your goals. And they should be specific, so you can write them down. You can test them to see if you're obtaining them. And they should present a challenge. You need to have a commitment. You need feedback. Keep looking to see if you're reaching those goals. And you have to consider the task complexity, meaning you should break a complex task into simpler pieces. So this has to do with office, but it can actually apply to almost anything. So these are ways that people waste time in like offices. And attending unnecessary meetings, so meetings and discussions that don't lead anywhere. And there's a lot of them, and so they're unnecessary, and they tend to eat up a lot of time. Attending unnecessary calls, which is kind of a similar thing. Office interruption, you're trying to do something and somebody just comes in and they just want to have a chat, and you just don't know how to kind of move on from that so you can get back to your work. A major cause of stress and poor time management is unwillingness or inability to delegate responsibility to people who work for us. So delegating, getting help. So delegating some of your tasks is a major item for managing time. Why effective time management matters. So why does it matter? So success in school and life in general depends on one's ability to efficiently manage time. There are only 168 hours per week, so you have to take 7 times 24. I believe that's what you'll get. But so many different ways to spend it. Some ways clearly help achieve your goals, and others may seem productive, but don't help you in the long run. So your own priorities determine whether your use of time is efficient or inefficient. So there's no other way to measure it but by your own priorities. Like, what do you consider to be important? Which goals are more important than others? That sort of thing. This is a cute little exercise you can do in 10 minutes. So list at least 5 things that are most important to you. And then list at least 5 things that you spend your time on and see if they correlate. How many of the things in one list are also in the other list? Most of us don't have the luxury of spending the majority of our time on the things that are most important to us. Okay. So time management, so they're redefining that as self-management, meaning you're just kind of managing yourself, what you do from moment to moment. You're not really managing time. If you think about it, time is like an abstract thing. You're really managing yourself, and it requires discipline and control. So we may have already gone through this. I may be duplicating slides, but that's okay. You can Google this Pareto principle, but you spend so much of most of our efforts producing small amount of our results. And that's the 80-20 rule. Some people put it as the 20-80 rule. But there's a similar rule like in organizations that like 20% of the people do 80% of the work. So there's a lot of 80-20s running around. Anyway, how do you manage your time? So these are 5 different ways to look at it. Setting goals and intermediate goals. Prioritizing things. Some things go ahead of others. Managing interruptions, because you're always going to get interruptions. So learning to manage them, how you deal with them. And procrastination is a big thing when people discuss time management. How do you master procrastination? A lot of different theories out there. And then scheduling, which for me is the biggest thing. Just creating a schedule, like a weekly schedule, monthly schedule, with all your appointments in it. So then I guess they're going to go through these 5 items. The first one was goal setting. And once again, I think maybe we had gone through this, but yeah, the principles, yes. So we had mentioned all this stuff. The different properties you have to have for goals. And now prioritization. So this, you'll see this in a lot of books on time management, like the x-axis is the degree of importance and the y-axis is the degree of urgency. So you have 4 categories then, depending on, so if it's important, it's either urgent or not urgent. So the ones that are important and urgent would be the ones that you would prioritize first. That's the idea. So they're deadline driven, task, important daily tasks, and crisis management. Then 2 would be the ones that are urgent but not important. Meaning they have to be done very quickly, but they're not that critical. Preparation, planning, relationship building. So, and then finally, in the not urgent category, important interruptions, some phone calls, emails, reports, requests for help. Important meaning, yeah. And then finally, and not urgent and not important would be your 4th thing. These things, if you never get to them, it's not going to be a big deal. So busy work, some phone calls, and time wasters, that kind of thing, escape activities. So important and urgent. So that's one way to, if you were to have a to-do list, you would put the the ones that belong to 1 before 2, before 3, and so on. This is, again, a similar type thing. This is really just a different version of it. It's just more dramatic. So that upper right corner, upper left corner, the ones you should do immediately. Then these a little bit later, and these can be delegated, they're saying. If it's urgent but of low importance, you can delegate it to somebody else. And if it's neither, you can avoid it. So either do it now, do it later, delegate it, or avoid it. So managing interruptions. So you can never totally avoid interruptions, meaning they're inevitable. Take responsibility if you cause your own interruptions. Don't use interruptions as an excuse to just get totally sidelined. Trying to work on multiple projects at once, that can be difficult. Procrastination, you're distracted from interruption. Accepting non-work calls at work. Coworkers stopping by to chat, so that's a big one. If you have a coworker who has nothing to do, and they're going to be looking to chat, they want to kill time, and that doesn't help you if you have a lot on your plate. And immediate response to emails, so that's another one. So more tips for managing interruption. Before calling a meeting, determine if it's truly necessary. Try to have a specific result in mind, so it's not just like a free-flow discussion that never really goes anywhere. Also, get adequate information before attending a meeting so you don't waste time. Don't spend half the meeting trying to get filled in on stuff. You can use do not disturb signs, stand up to visitors, learn to say no. It's actually one of the most important things, even outside of FYE, learning to say no. And prioritize your emails. So now we're on to procrastination. So procrastination is the gap. I think that should be gap between the time that we intend to perform a task and the time that we actually perform it. So there's always a gap. That's the whole thing. Some things that might indicate procrastination. So there's a list there. Having a lot of items of low importance in a to-do list. Putting stuff in a to-do list just to look busy. Handling papers repeatedly. Reading emails repeatedly. Finding reasons to leave your desk. You're without even realizing it, you're procrastinating. You just don't want to get to that task. Leaving something on your to-do list, which is important, that is, you're basically procrastinating it. Saying yes to help others on less important tasks. And sometimes people do that just because they don't want to work on their own stuff. So why do people procrastinate? Of course, you simply find it unpleasant. You're disorganized. You find the task overwhelming, so that's a big one. And sometimes the thing to do there is just break it into pieces. Just get started on a small piece of it so you don't find it overwhelming. You are a perfectionist, so that's a big one too. People who are perfectionists, they just can't do anything unless they feel it's absolutely perfect, unless everything is set up exactly right. And because of that, they never get started. You're having trouble making a decision. So if you have have to make decisions about how to proceed, you just keep waffling back and forth, like you never get to the point of deciding how to proceed. Sometimes you just have to make a good choice and just move on. That's why you procrastinate. So we're still on the procrastination theme. So strategies for overcoming procrastination. Depending on these 5 categories. Unpleasant, disorganized, you're overwhelmed, you're a perfectionist, can't decide. So let's see. Hopefully that's what we'll be doing next. Well, scheduling. So scheduling can help with all kinds of time management, including procrastination. It ensures you allotted time for all important tasks. You can cut off unproductive interruptions. You can limit meetings to their scheduled time. You can demonstrate that your plate is full. Allow time for breaks. Leave some time open to handle unexpected tasks. Those are just some principles, if you want to call them that, for scheduling. This is the daily activity log or the to-do list. Most people have used the to-do list. And then they have some little guidelines, 1 sheet per day, be accurate and specific, be honest. Be honest about what you think you could do in that day. Don't put like 100 items on there. Even just 5 things, and then I'd be happy. For me, I might put 5 items on a to-do list and be happy if I get 3 of them done. And then watch how you prioritize those tasks. Put the ones that really obviously higher priority should go to the top of the list. Make quality time for your priorities. Prepare a to-do list. And then stick to your time schedule. So it's a contradiction because they say stick to your time schedule, but then be flexible. Because unexpected demands will occur. But if you spend too much time on non-priority tasks, your performance will suffer. You may not meet your goals. So any kind of system, you may have to set it aside. Something comes up that's totally unexpected. Meetings, assign a timekeeper. Make sure you're not running over. Prepare a detailed agenda so you don't waste time and actually follow it. Don't set it aside when you walk into the meeting. Insist that the agenda be followed. Use visual aids because things can move quicker. Delegate attending meetings that are unrelated and less important to people who work with you. So you don't necessarily have to attend every meeting. So here now we're back to office interruptions. Stand when people come in to chat. So this is a big one. That way they won't feel comfortable. It's kind of a nonverbal way of saying, I got stuff to do and I really am not, I don't want to spend an hour talking. The other thing is people use the office walkout, meaning you stand and you actually start walking out, hoping the other person will follow you. So you can do it without seeming rude. Ask them if it's important. That's a hint, that you actually have other stuff on your plate. Ask them if you can talk later in their office, a place where you can control the length of the conversation. Walk out long enough to get them out of your office and then sneak back to continue your work. That's the office walkout. So that'll work in a lot of situations. Close your door is another thing, like a nonverbal hint, you got other things to do. Some more strategies. So telephone. Leave complete messages for people who are not available so they won't have time to call back. Install a voicemail system. Train your associates to deal with routine issues on your behalf and to screen your calls when you're under pressure. Avoid unnecessary chit-chat. Like that one is not that easy. Delegating. Good managers never put off till tomorrow what they can delegate today. Delegating responsibility to others allows you to concentrate on your duties, planning, problem solving, and other proactive matters. Failure to delegate forces you to spend too much time on trivial issues and neglect critical opportunities. So this seems to be oriented, this part anyway, towards like bosses, but it still applies. Seeing if you can get help with some of your tasks. Benefits of delegation. To yourself, you'll reduce stress. They'll have additional time to yourself. To the other person, opportunity to learn something new, person you're delegating to, feel useful and part of the team, shows talent. To the organization, more than one person to do a task, like that's cross-training. Adding a new perspective to a situation, less stress to employees due to shared responsibilities. Now this would be the summary. Time management. Identify your core goals and organize your time around them. Make a calendar with all important due dates. Break big projects into specific small tasks that can be done in a short time. Prioritize a daily to-do list. Do important chunks first. And then finally, make quality time for your priorities. And I think that's it.